Hi, my love. Welcome to the Godly Femme podcast. My name is Chumoke Win, and here we discuss all things Christian hypergamy, leveling up, and godly femininity. Check us out at godlyfemme.com. Okay, so some advice for social climbers. Let me read you some statistics first, and then I'm going to explain the method of this madness. In the United States, only 26%, the marriage rate is 26% for poor Americans. That's people who make $30,000 per annual or less. Okay. Now, 39% of working class are currently married, and 56% of middle and upper middle class Americans are married. Okay, so some people are super confused with Christian hypergamy and like, is that gold digging? You're trying to teach women to be gold diggers and woo, woo, woo. And men who don't even have a pot to pee in are upset and in arms. But here's the truth of the matter. If you are a young woman and God created you to be a wife, I always say be a wife, not a concubine. You want to be married. You want your eggs cracked. You want your name dropped. Okay? So as a dating strategist, I look at data all day. I look at data, I look at trends, and I just observe with my own two eyes. It does not make sense, and I see this happen so often, and it hurts my heart. You have a lot of women who are in lower, especially Black women, who are in lower income areas, right? They're lower income areas, and they are in church, and their church is 95% women, besides maybe the pastor and a few men, and that's it. 95% women. The church is full of women, and they are sitting there praying and trying to do backflips on the altar. They think maybe if I shout enough, maybe if I stomp enough, then God is going to send me a husband. But you live, excuse me if this sounds rude, but you live in the hood, okay? You live in a low income area. The men around you are not marriageable. They are okay making you a baby mama before they make you a wife. They're okay cohabitating and not marrying. So if you are in a situation like that, not everybody's in a situation like that, but if you're listening and, maybe you are new to femininity and hypergamy and you want to be married, you need to have strategy, because this idea that God is going to send a high quality, eligible Christian man to come to the hood, come to low income area, who's financially established, he's Christian, good morals, probably came from a 2-parent household, to just randomly roll up to a low income area and find you and marry you, and you both don't even have enough in common, right? As far as commonality, is delusional, right? And I know it sounds mean, but that's what it is, right? That is what it is. So if you're someone who you are maybe you're in the poor class or you're in working class, it will benefit you, right? And it will increase the odds of being at least positioned in front of men that will marry you. Like I said, look it up for yourself. In the United States, middle and upper middle class, over half of people who are middle and upper middle class are married. 1 in 2 versus 1 in 4. Okay? So you increase your chances significantly the higher in class that you go. So for some women, social climbing is actually an advantageous strategy that they should employ if they want to be hypergamous. Not just hypergamous, but if they just want the ring. Because like I said, men of lower socioeconomic status, they're not rushing to marry women. They're not in the market for marriage. They're in the market for hookups. They're in the market for long-term relationships that don't lead to marriage. So don't waste your youth, right? And I say this, and women and men feel the type of way, but a man's readiness for marriage is highly correlated with his establishment as a man. That's just how it is. Okay. So I'm going to give you just a few tips and a few advice when it comes to social climbing. The first thing is everything is all mindset. Everything is mindset. There's a difference between the way that lower income class things versus higher incomes, middle class, upper middle class, the rich, millionaires. There's levels to this. A great book that I read, and I'll put it in Level Up Society, is 10 distinctions between the middle class and millionaires. Honestly, it changed my life. I said, wow. And it was like so clear as day. And I'm like, oh, I get it now. This makes a lot of sense. But it's mindset. You have to work on the mindset, because there's no amount of, even if you ran into some money and you bought a Gucci bag, that doesn't mean nothing. Okay, you have to change your mind. And the second thing is with mindset, right, as far as like the values of different classes and understanding that. Another thing, and probably one of the biggest thing you have to grapple with, is your mindset about money. Like I said, working class, poor, and middle class, they have different views when it comes to money, right? So when you are social climbing, you have to be aware of how you react to money and your own relationship with money. So for example, thinking certain things are expensive, that may not be expensive to that class, because everything is relative. There are people in other countries that are looking at you like, wow, you're able to take a hot shower? What a luxury, right? Don't walk into certain stores and certain restaurants or certain places where people have money and be like, wow, that's so expensive, and start making a huge deal and a show about price, right? Like, that is very poor taste. You know, like, if you can't afford it, you can't afford it, but just be like, oh, I can't afford that yet, right? Or like, oh, okay, well, that's reasonable for someone. But when you have this definite view of money, right, you put a cap on yourself. When you start saying, oh, that's expensive, oh, when you start making a big deal, you got to change the way you think about money. Even when it comes to budgeting, right? Budgeting, investing, you need to know how money works if you're going to social climb. That's probably the biggest thing. There's a saying that says, even if all the money in the world was taken and split evenly amongst every single person, the rich will still get rich and the poor will go back to being poor. It's not because they don't have enough money. It's their mindsets, attitudes about money. All right. So that's something that you have to understand. The next thing is, don't curse the place you want to be. Okay. If you're someone who has this disdain for people who have money, and you have jealousy, and you're like, oh, they must have stole that money. Someone has something nice and you can't be happy for them. And this goes not just with money, but even like relationships. Someone got married and you didn't, and you're a hater. Why? Right? Why? Like, don't be bitter about life because you're blocking your own blessing. You should be like, you know what? I'm next. You know what? This person has this amount of money, or they're living in this type of lifestyle, or whatever the case is, and be like, okay, well, I can find out how to do it. Maybe I need to work hard. Maybe I need to go back to school, whatever the case is, but don't curse the place that you want to be. If you see people are doing good in life and that's secretly what you desire, don't curse them, right? Okay, and then the last thing I would say is to try to acclimate to the class above you first. Everybody tries to jump to billionaire Bill Gates status. Like, I mean, come on. Like, everyone's not going to bag a billionaire. If you're poor, try to just acclimate, or poor class rather, try to acclimate to working class, or at least middle class. If you're working class, middle class, or upper middle class, right? Because just that alone, just acclimating to the next class above you, still significantly increases your odds of encountering and being positioned in front of men who are more marriageable. So that's my little advice on social climbing. Maybe I'll do a part 2 later on, but let me know what you think, and I'll speak to you later. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Godly Femme podcast. If you would like more help in your femininity journey, make sure that you do sign up for our 7-day Godly Femininity Challenge, and also that you join our free Facebook mentorship group, Black Hypergamous Christian Women. All the details are in the description.